Yeah.
Did you really think
Well,
that you had a
LA
chance to get Gretzky? Did you think you could really do it?
No. I talked to Peter when I first bought even 25% of the team. I would talk to Peter Pocklington about, hey, how about Gretzky? And he'd laugh, and just blow me off. And he did that through '87. And I would see him at the meetings. I would see him at the All-Star games. The reward ceremonies. Every time I would see him, I'd bug him. And finally, he said, no. He said, you can give me the whole team. And I wouldn't give you Gretzky. I said, okay, I'll give you the whole team. He said, no, I still don't want Gretzky. Can't do it. Finally, I think it was probably March or April of. Actually, it was at the award ceremony in Toronto in '88. So whatever that was, that finally Peter came to me and said, "Are you still interested in Gretzky?" I said, "Absolutely." He said, "Well, I need $15 million first of all, and I want a bunch of picks and some players." I said, "Okay, done." And that's what started it all. And then it took several months after that to maneuver to the point to get it. But even all the way through, in fact, to the last day, the very day of March 9th, I guess it was. What am I saying? August 9th of '88, the day of the trade, I didn't think it was going to go through because even on that day, I went to the press conference in Edmonton, and Glenn Sather and Peter Pocklington wanted to talk to Wayne alone. They went off. I thought, oh my God, what's going to happen now? And yes, they had offered. They said, look, we can stop this deal right away. If you don't want to, Wayne came back to me and he said, don't worry about it. I'm a king. Don't worry about it.
Wow. And so did you know Wayne? And what's the story with him being at Alan Thicke's house? And you called over there, and Robin, who's like a little kid, he's like, hello. Hi. And you're like, hey, can you go wake up Wayne? He's being traded today. So how did he get from L.A. to Edmonton? Did you put him on a plane to get to Edmonton or what?
Yeah, it was on my private jet again. And yes, it was all true that I'd been working on this for a long time. Finally, people like you, the press, started getting wind of it a little bit.
You mean Andy.
You people.
Andy.
Yeah, Andy. Yeah, you people. You people.
Can't say that, Bruce.
Well, okay. I'm going to say it again. You people. That is the press, and they started getting wind of it a little bit, and I was terrified that Peter, who would back out immediately if they got a hold of it, because he was already getting death threats and everything else going on. So I knew we had to do it that day. So I basically called Peter and I said, I'm going to wire you the money. If you take the money, we're done. And I wired the money, and he said, okay, we're done. So then I did. I called. I knew Wayne was staying at Alan's house, so I called, and Robin answered the phone, and I said, hey, I just completed the trade with Gretzky, with Wayne, so can you wake him up? Because I got to take him to Edmonton right away. And he goes, okay. And he runs over, and Wayne gets on the phone, and I said, Wayne, we did it. It's done. So get ready, and I'll, meet me at the Van Nuys Airport, and we're going to take my plane to Edmonton, and off we go.
Dress up.
Okay, so
it's
listen.
a different animal.
All right, walk us through, how'd you guys party that night? How'd you celebrate the night that you made the deal? You're flying back to L.A. on the plane. What'd you guys talk about on the way to Edmonton, then on the way to L.A.? Could you believe that you actually did it, that you made this, you had this vision, and then you executed the vision? But I want to know how you guys celebrated after the trade was made.
Well, first of all, the way there, in a way, there wasn't a whole lot said. Wayne was pretty nervous. He still was shaken up. I don't think he really didn't want to leave Edmonton and all the players that he knew and all the people he knew there. It wasn't his desire to necessarily do that. He realized that once it was going down, that yes, that I was the best option because, we were friends. He saw that I took care of people and took care of him and his family and all the rest of it. So I think by that time he was okay with it, but it was nerve wracking for him. So we didn't say too much. The way back, it was like, wow, done. That's nice. And then we talked about what it's going to be like in LA for the press conference. The normal press conference in LA would be, maybe a beat writer or two, maybe a radio station, the King station or something. That's about it. So we got to the hotel where we were doing the press conference. And it was like 300 people. There was mob. I never saw anything like it in my life. I said, hey, Wayne, this may work. Maybe somebody will show up to the games. I couldn't believe it. And so we talked about that and what the press conference was going to be, because I staged it a little bit, because at the same time we were going to introduce the new colors, because the players used to tell me all the time that they hated the purple and gold because they were Laker colors. Mm-hmm. And they said, we feel like a bad banana on ice. So that wasn't any good. So they finally said to me, I said, well, what do you want? And they told me that they like white at home and black on the road, and they like maybe the silver because of my coin business. So we did that. So when we're coming back, I announced it by saying, I know you're all here to witness the new colors. And so I brought Wayne out wearing the new jersey. Mm. And that was, so he was the model for the new jersey, basically. Yeah. And so we had fun. We had fun with that.
Probably didn't sell any of those.
No, you didn't sell any of those, did you? And
no jerseys sold at all.
You're like, yeah, we got a new jersey here. Oh, by the way, this is Wayne Gretzky.
And the black and silver was sick. We love the black and silver. Like the influence you had on Gary Bettman becoming commissioner, like break that down for us.
Well, I hired him. I mean, the bottom line is, oddly enough, there was a feeling of change was needed in the NHL. John Ziegler was the commissioner at the time. Actually, they called him, I think, president at the time. And everybody knew that a change was needed. And so I was elected chairman of the board of the governors of the NHL. So that was a kind of a strange thing. I was by far the youngest guy there, but I was named chairman. And one of my first jobs as chairman was to see if I could locate or hire a commissioner to replace Ziegler. So we had a committee of 4 people, and those guys, myself, hired a search company, and they came up with a bunch of names from giant companies, like a Nabisco and that kind of stuff. But none of them knew anything about hockey when I interviewed them. So I finally said, I have an idea. So I called David Stern at the NBA. So David Stern and I had breakfast one day. I said, David, I want you to be commissioner of the NHL. Leave the NBA. And I said, because you've already done the NBA, what you've done, you've taken it where it is. How about doing the same with the NHL? And I almost had him. And he would tell you the story before he passed away recently. He would tell you that story. And he said, no, I can't. I said, okay, look, could I have, who could I have in the NBA that you think I would work with? And finally he said, I think Bettman would work. So I met Gary, and he and I, hit it off right away. I could tell his knowledge of the sport was great. We also were facing a work stoppage at that time. And I knew that, Gary's a lawyer. He knew how to handle that. So I thought he would be the guy. But I had to be subtle about it, because the NHL owners did like NBA guys for the most part. Although a couple of them owned NBA teams, they didn't like the idea of the NBA and the NHL. There was a problem there. So I brought Gary to a meeting, and I had him be drilled with all the owners, and they realized, holy crap, this guy's the guy. So I got him elected unanimously. And funny enough, when I see Gary from time to time, I say, Gary, I get so much acclaim for the Gretzky trade, but nobody thanks me for you. And he says, no, they usually blame you for me. So
all right, let's get down to it here. You did the time, baby. You tough son of a bitch. Prison.
Yeah, loved it.
I bet you did.
Robitaille would come constantly. Gretzky would come all the time. I had Tom Hanks would show up. I had Kurt and Goldie would come. And so when they would show up, though, the guards, would ask them for autographs and cards and this and that. Pretty soon, Luke was carrying, dozens of signed hockey sticks across the room to the guards. And I said, oh boy. And eventually, that's what led me into more trouble. Yeah. Because I, obviously the guards were very happy to get all the things they could get. They're underpaid guys, and they're.
Oh yeah, hey, no, listen, they want to have a picture taken. They want to autograph Wayne Gretzky stick just like anybody else. I mean, you probably are eating steak that night.
Tomahawk steak, baby. Damn right.
Yeah, exactly.
So listen, so they put you in the hole because of that, right? They were trying to get you to narc or rat on who some of the
guards.
correction officers who were getting some of these benefits, and you wouldn't do it. Correct. So they put you in the in the medium security prison, right? Or was it the maximum?
No, it was the maximum security prison in the whole of the maximum security prison.
Okay, so when you say the whole, what do you mean?
Yeah, explain that.
Well, it's a room that's about 8 feet by 5 feet with a light bulb, a toilet, and a sink.
Okay. How long were you in there?
6 months.
Oh, and Jesus. Were you scared? Did you ever cry at night, Bruce?
No.
Were you ever emotional? Were you scared? No. Did anybody ever mess with you? Like ever in a dangerous situation or no?
No, because what happens is that that's overrated. If you even when I left Lompoc, the low level place, and I was shipped on to medium and high level places, even though people there were doing life and they were in there for pretty bad things, unless you're involved with drugs or gambling or gangs, some stupid shit like that, nobody's there. Gangs, there was no white gangs for hockey owners, believe it or not.
But don't you have to pick though? But don't you have to pick when you get in there? You're telling me when you go in there, these crazy
Did
guys.
you say white gangs for hockey owners?
Well,
I hear you guys are some badass motherfuckers. Hey, you stay away from you guys.
Well, in Northern California, there's a mixture of a bunch of shit up there, dude. So you have to
but they're not hockey owners. Dude.
No, I know. No. I know, but don't when you go in there and you got these fucking psychos all talking to you, and I know a lot of them know you, but aren't some of them like the skinheads like, no, come over here. Mm-hmm. And then somebody else like, come over here. Like, don't you have to pick something?
Not really. Not at least I didn't. I mean, they all know me. You're right. I was famous. They like that.
Is it like San Quentin? Is it like kind of like that or no?
No. The federal system has got smarter people, basically.
I gotcha. White collar.
Well, no, but you can murder somebody or kidnap somebody or whatever, but do it on federal property or do it as a federal crime.
I gotcha.
Or if you have drug dealers, these aren't the little guys running around that would go to the state prisons. These are the big guns, the guys, the major guys, and by definition, they're smarter. They're because they're big guns. So I never really ran into any problems in that regard. And I had I had so many people around me, some guys, tough guys around me, that were happy to make sure that people knew that. I guess. Yeah. And so, when I was in Lompoc, I had a guy who was the head of the Third World Crips, who helped me lose weight, sort of a trainer there for me, helped me do that. I had
conjugal visits?
No, not in the federal system, not allowed.
You were hanging out
lonely down there in the hole though.
Listen,
what do you do?
Bruce McNall, he's hanging out with the Crips, is what he said. Bruce McNall.
Yeah,
so some of that stuff was going down there too, though. I mean, it wasn't because the camp probably isn't nearly as intense, right? It's like a different world than what you probably saw in the maximum security, right? In the hole.
Yeah, it's not as intense, and what happened was, in all honesty, is that the guards that were getting all these things from the players and so forth, they wanted to reciprocate where they could, so they got me a job. You have to have a job in the federal system, okay? You can't just sit there. And the job they gave me that time was being at the Air Force Base in which was 4,000, 5,000 Air Force guys on this big Air Force base. And you're there to do sort of manual labor or whatever. But they didn't really, they just drove me out there. We hung out, had lunch, messed around. Nothing much happened. And there was also a hotel there. So if I wanted to have my girlfriend at the time come meet me at the hotel, the guards would arrange it.
Nice.
And so that was nice. Wow. And they would also station up in front of there. So any other guards that came along that were not part of the group, so to speak, they'd run them off. So I had a pretty good, it was a pretty easy time. But again, eventually that was caught on because the cops weren't getting things, I guess. They squealed on the cops that were. And then they put me in the hole and I wouldn't talk.